Hello from Ijevsk. This is a podcast Pigeon of Peace where we do discuss some skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about discussion and let's start with the definition.
Discussion it's very powerful tool when you want to learn information and to support communication. For example, you are going to tell some kind of story or maybe business case or maybe it is about your trip and suddenly someone would argue and will make controversial movements in your side and will say, oh come on, you are joking, you are kidding, this is not true, you are not trustworthy person. And sometimes happen. You are as a traveler, you know that some stories could not be believed because different cultures and different states has a lot of things which we are not used to in our world, and not many things exist. For example, about fruits. If you live in Russia or in Kazakhstan, you will know about like 50 kind of fruits, but you have been to Bali, to Dubai, and you have seen in Carrefour and other huge stores like, I don't know, maybe 200 different fruits, and the same with veggies. And you could be offended or you could start a discussion. And why discussion is so important? Because you could convert person who is your antagonist to your friend. I often say that in army, it happens that huge friendship start with good fight.
Well, I think it's well said. And when we look into discussion, probably let's maybe start from the end, how the discussions could be ended. What might be the goal? What might be the conclusions? What might be the consequences of good or not so well conducted discussion?
Let's start about family life. When you start discussion with your spouse, you have in mind, you should have in mind very important things. You are not fight with your spouse. You both fight with the problem. So never start to make offense. Never start to discuss. First, you should understand. Maybe your wife wants to have a quarrel. There is a kind of stand-up show and. In coffee shop arrives a woman, enters a woman, and suddenly she says to barista, "Please make me." And then she pronounce some very hard. Coffee to prepare, and barista makes this coffee, and suddenly a woman starts to quarrel, and barista asks her, "You want to me to remake your coffee, or you want discussion?" And woman says, "Yes, please, let's fight with words."
Well, yeah, I think sometimes you do need to understand what kind of agenda the other person says. And speaking about the actors, people who actually involved into the discussion, what I also kind of understood with a little experience, sometimes the moment you start arguing or quarreling with someone, or maybe just, like having a conversation, might be like invisible another person. So participants of the discussion could be, taking a different sides, or different roles. So how you should consider this field, like how you should look at the people you're speaking to, or people who kind of exist in the room, but they're not there.
Yes, in manipulation lessons, I often I often say that it is some of powerful manipulation. It's about someone invisible, and for example, it could be a girlfriend, it could be a stepmother, it could be someone else. And there is also Russian anecdote, something like this. There is a message from a girl to a boy. Please send me some money. I will make my manicure, and he gives this money, but without 5 kopeek. I don't know how to say, without 5 cents. And then it was a very fast reply. Yes, but there is not enough money. You should give me 5 more cents. And there is a reply from the boy. Yes, but it could be given by your girlfriend, which she always is trying to put 5 cents in our conversation. Yes, it could be when you talk with someone and someone will say, okay, Maxim, but I should talk to my mother, to my boss, to my subordinates, and something like this. I should make consultations. And it was like maybe 20 years ago, I was head of information of economical security of Alpha Bank in Ukraine, and it was my subordinate. It's very old one guy. Previously, he was responsible. I don't know how to say, for penitentiary system for childs, детская комната подростков. I don't know how to say it in English.
It could be said like penitentiary system, but maybe yeah, like a children version or something like this. But penitentiary is more or less okay.
Okay. And he was like 50 years old and I was like 24. And I was asking him something and suddenly his reply was, I should discuss it with my mother. And I was so astonished how you would talk to his mother. And this guy was answering, okay, but now I have a time to think it about and I have no one knows would I talk to my mother, but everyone respect mother. So it's kind a move.
And the moment we start to have a conversation with someone, well, obviously, again, like we would have our own agendas or goal. And I'm not talking about casual discussions like a small talk. Maybe we'll touch on this later. But at a certain point of time, what we may realize that if we don't want to reveal a certain information, the best way is actually to do this, start asking questions. And the people actually will be happily to telling something, or maybe use like other mechanics like a pause. So if we do not want to reveal anything, and by revealing, I don't mean that we're a secretive person. It just, like we want to guide it in a certain way. So how we should treat our conversation, how we should treat the one who we speaking to.
There is a kind of Russian hunt, wolf hunt. In this case, you should put some wire on the trees with red flags. And wolf is very high-minded predator. But anyway, if he feel the smell of something which was in hand of the human, he will try to avoid it. With this help, people will navigate wolves school. I know how to say staya, tribe, wolf,
Pack. Yeah, pack.
pack, or in some direction. And the same would be, for example, with rabbits. If you will go on the jeep and you will see the rabbit between lights of your headlights of your vehicle, he will run faster, but he will never step aside. So you could make the same with people. For example, people will do some thoughts which you don't like. Then you should put red flag or highlighted by your light. In this case, people will think, okay, maybe it's not worth to cross, maybe it worth to be back on the area we know well and where nothing bad could happen.
And well, actually speaking about wolves, sometimes we may have a conversation with the predators, whether they're like a wolves they're attacking, or maybe it could be, like a pigs or lizards or alligators, depending. And in that conversation, they might be feeling powerful. They might be pressing like really predators. So how to act in such situation when you definitely being attacked in whatever way, whether it's open or explicit or implicit, but how to make sure that you still hold the conversation, maybe you'll need to leave it, or at least like you will be able to finish it to more or less constructive ending.
I will start with an example. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. It was a burglar who came into the house of the old man, and he was beaten by this old man because previously he was a champion in a heavyweight box of the state. And why I start with this? Because you never know when you will be attacked. You could be attacked in subway, in a train, in plane, in airport, on the street, close to your home, or even in your bedroom. So you should be well prepared. You should know languages, because if something bad will happen, maybe you could not start. For example, several years ago, I met a guy. He was talking Spanish and he was Cuban, and he was trying to hit me in the water closet of the shopping mall in the center of Moscow. And I asked him in Spanish what he is doing, and he was answering he is hiding until the night because he has no other chance to eat. So he should stay closed in the water closet. And I think, okay, I could put something like do not enter, or maybe it's in under the maintenance and something like this. And he was happily sitting there, and I don't know what's happening next. Or for example, I live in the huge building in the center of the Moscow, and in the basement there is a subway. And maybe I don't know, maybe each month when I enter the subway, I will see the bold blood splats. It's okay to say blood
Mm,
splats,
could be okay.
which are laying on the concrete because someone was beaten, maybe by the night.
Well, yeah, this is might be like a tough ending of the conversation, and sometimes we might be need some sort of like a help. So, for example, let's say if we in the discussion and at certain point of time we've been asking questions that we may not be able to answer, but we need to provide solution or the answer or like any resolution as of now. What we should do, and again, I will try to maybe make this trickier for you. Sorry about that. So sometimes I do believe we need to be prepared for such kind of a things and like train ourselves in advance, but giving like overall example, should we think about all of the discussions in advance, or maybe even like try to predict like different way it's ended, or we just should rely only on our experience and that will be pretty much enough?
Also, I'll step with example. Several days ago, I published in Instagram a short video about IT guys, what will happen in future. To be honest, it was filmed in 2016, so it was like 9 years ago. But anyway, it's time to go in the light, so I just published it, and I saw there are several comments that people do not agree with me, and it was a choice to start to write answers or just delete the comments. Not all the questions should be answered. When I was on some press conference, by the way, in Dubai, it was World Government Summit or something like this. I was sitting close to Vice President of India, and he was asked by someone in the room something about relations India and Pakistan, and suddenly he was just saying, "Next question, please."
Well, I think this is a good way of dealing this with finesse. Then my last question will be how knowing about discussion could help to make this world a better place.
Without discussion, you couldn't come to the conclusion, you couldn't rent a flat, you couldn't be hired, and so on. Sometimes you have your own opinion about something and you want to express it, and people will not agree, and then you should start a discussion or maybe avoid discussion and maybe leave those people. It is your choice, but to have the choice, you should have an instrument, because you will make a choice avoid, but people will say, "Come on, let's finish our conversation," and then you will be able to take this from your arsenal and to start fight back, and maybe you will be winner, even without being initiator of this.
Well said. And we review the skill of discussion and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.